And our morning begins with breaking news. Overnight, Donald Trump has been elected the 47th President of the United States.
In a stunning political comeback, a red wave handed Republicans the presidency and the U.S. Senate. The House of Representatives is still up in the air. NBC News called the race for president in the last few hours, announcing Donald Trump as president-elect. After he secured Wisconsin's 10 electoral votes, he's now over the 270 needed to win the election. But Trump declared victory hours before that in Florida last night.
This is a magnificent victory for the American people that will allow us to make America great again.
Donald Trump would be the only second president to win 2 non-consecutive terms. Not only is he winning the electoral votes, but the red wave across the country could also win him the popular vote this morning. If the trend holds right now, he'd be the first Republican since George W. Bush in 2004 to do so.
And I think that we just witnessed the greatest political comeback in the history of the United States of America.
That's Vice President-elect J.D. Vance standing side by side with Trump, promising an economic comeback for America last night. As for the Harris campaign, her watch party wrapped early last night without an appearance from the vice president.
Thousands of supporters were in D.C. at her alma mater, Howard University. But around 9 p.m. Pacific time, which was midnight back east, Harris campaign co-chair Cedric Richmond came out to thank the crowd, but told them Harris would not be addressing them that evening.
We still have states that have not been called yet. We will continue overnight to fight to make sure that every vote is counted, that every voice has spoken. So you won't hear from the vice president tonight, but you will hear from her tomorrow.
This morning, now about 8 hours later, we have still yet to hear from Harris or her campaign. Again, no reaction at this hour from Vice President Harris on her loss to Trump. Now, obviously, Trump had to break through that blue wall in order to secure a victory. So while you were probably sleeping, Pennsylvania was called at about 11 o'clock Pacific time last night with 19 electoral votes. That put Trump in striking distance of the White House. But it wasn't until Wisconsin was called around 2:30 a.m. that we knew he had come through with the lead. NBC News then projected Donald Trump as president-elect as he surpassed the 270 threshold for electoral votes. He currently has 276. Vice President Kamala Harris with 219. There's still a few battleground states that are too close to call. We've got Nevada here in white, Arizona, and as well as Michigan, not called yet. Even if Harris wins all of those states, it's not enough for her to capture the presidency. So let's check in with Jake right now for another big win for Republicans. Jake.
Yeah, just incredible to see that, a possible clean sweep of the battleground states, Mimi. So here's the balance of power in the Senate this morning. Going into this election, the Republicans were down. Senate was controlled by Democrats 51-49. Ohio and West Virginia were called overnight. And about 20 minutes ago, NBC News called the race in Montana, unseating John Tester. So still 6 undecided Senate seats left to count. But it appears Republicans have claimed the U.S. Senate. When it comes to the U.S. House this morning, flipping over a bit, this is still too close to call. 54 really important races still left to be counted. Republicans currently hold the lead. They're trying to flip the House, or retain the House, I should say. They're up about 3 seats right now in terms of the flip factor, but still 54 races still to call. The balance of power, of course, very important at this point, because if Donald Trump, as he has the presidency, he would also have the Senate and the House. He could continue the Trump agenda throughout the next 4 years. We also want to get to some congressional seats here this morning. As I zoom back into the state of Washington, let's look at Congressional District 3 this morning. Zooming in here to Clark County, you have Democrat Marie Gluesenkamp Perez up 52% over Joe Kent, a Republican, at 48%. This is a rematch of what we saw in 2022. Remember. So Joe Kent trying to get that seat, take it from Gluesenkamp Perez. Still too close to the call this morning. About a 60% voter turnout I looked this morning. We'll have to see how this flips. Let's also take a look this morning at District 6. Emily Randall is handily in the lead in this district now, 57%. to 42%. This was an open seat covering Tacoma and out into the peninsula. This was held by Democrat Derek Kilmer. It does appear that Democrats will hold on to this seat. Mimi, how about the race for governor?
Let's get to that race, Jake. King 5 can project that voters have selected Democrat Bob Ferguson as the next governor of Washington. But this morning, Republican Dave Reichert has not yet conceded the race, as thousands more ballots still need to be counted. King 5's Drew Andre is in Olympia this morning to break down the results. And Drew, this extends the run of Democrats in the governor's mansion.
Well, it's right. In fact, Mimi, it's the longest streak of Democratic governors in the nation. It now will extend to 40 years and beyond here, with the current Attorney General taking over as governor in the state of Washington. Let's take a look at what our latest results are here between the two candidates. Ferguson is tallying 56% of the vote and carries a 12-point margin over former sheriff and Congressman Dave Reichert, with 58% of the vote in so far. Last night, it was a celebration for Ferguson's campaign, which raised $14 million. That's more than double Reichert. Ferguson thanked his supporters and volunteers who helped make the victory possible.
As your governor, I will center you, each and every one of you, red counties, blue counties, Republicans, Democrats, independents. You are top of my mind. I'm thinking of you, will advocate for you, will make Washington even a greater state than it is today.
And last night, we also heard from Dave Reichert, who acknowledged the initial numbers do not look good for him, but he told his supporters as long as there are hundreds of thousands of votes left, he will not concede. He says this is not a challenge of the election. He just wants to honor everyone who filled out a ballot.
I heard that all across the state as I met with people. If you don't win, I'm leaving. And so my plea tonight is, look, if we do lose, don't leave. We have to stay and fight for our children, for our homes, for our businesses.
And we know there are more results that will be coming in later this morning. Now, Ferguson says that over the coming weeks, he will be assembling his team before he takes over as governor of the state of Washington. Live in Olympia, Drew Andre, King 5 News.
Thank you, Drew. And we're using our brand new technology to give you a closer look at how people in Washington voted in the many races, including the governor's race. So in the governor's race, a clear partisan divide on both sides of the mountains. When we zoom in this morning and we look at the results county by county, of course, no surprise, voters in the largest county in our state overwhelmingly chose Ferguson with 72% of the vote. It was pretty split here in Pierce County. As you can see the results here, 50.9% Ferguson, 49.1% for Dave Reichert. But I want to draw your attention now to Skagit County up north. Look how close the margin is here. A difference of only 1,800 votes. We've got 46% of those ballots counted there. And then when you zoom out and just look at our state as a whole in terms of how we voted in 2020 versus 2024, look at this. There are two counties that flipped. Whitman here and Clallam County. This was back in 2020. And if you look at how they voted in 2024, you can see Clallam County actually voted for Bob Ferguson here. And that's a very interesting county, which we're going to get to a little bit later in the show, because it's sort of this indicator, supposedly, of how the results would be nationwide. This year, it appears that was not the case.
Yeah,
Jake?
more of a Democratic push here in the 2024 election. So interesting. All right, Mimi, thanks. We have so much to get to this morning as you wake up on this historic morning. For the latest results, local and nationally, you can text the word RESULT to us right now, result with an S, results, to 206-448-4545. We'll send a link right to your phone.